while now, I've been doing a Make a Moveset series where I go to a specific game and I talk about a specific character and how they could work in that specific game. So for example, I've covered Zenitsu and Nezuko in the upcoming Demon Slayer PS4 game. I'll leave a link to those in the description. And that series was actually initially planned for Project L, specifically the League of Legends fighting game. I was going to look at League of Legends characters and then turn them into fighting game characters, and I'm still planning on doing that series. But since then, I thought about making a more generalized version of those videos where I just take any given fictional character that I care about. It's some type of source material. It can be anime, it can be comic books, it can be, in this case, RWBY, and I can just make a fighting game moveset with them. Generally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie that character to a specific game just because it's easier to come up with what we need to come up with conceptually. So in this case, obviously, we're going to be looking at BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle because it's the only time we've seen RWBY in a fighting game. I'm not sure if I'll continue to do this with RWBY characters in the future or not, but I thought what better character to start with than Cinder Fall, the Fall Maiden herself. This goes without saying, of course, but huge spoiler warning. I will be talking about things that happened in RWBY all the way up to the most recent volume of Volume 7. I'd also like to take this moment to remind you to subscribe. I'm supposed to be doing that at the start of videos. If you like this type of content, why not subscribe? It only takes 2 seconds out of your day. All right, let's jump into it or else we'll be here all day. There's going to be one move I'm not going to be able to cover in this video because I didn't find an example of it, and that's a jab, like a crouching light punch. I just couldn't find anything in the source material that would work for Cinder. Starting things off with her crouching B button. A lot of the crouching medium buttons in BB Tag are anti-airs, and I think this animation works particularly well for that. Moving on to her light string, you want something fast, and I think her swords work particularly well for that. For the medium string, we wanted something that could knock up the opponent for jump cancels and stuff like that, and thankfully she does that perfectly well in this fight with Neo. Cinder has a perfect sweep animation from Season 2. This is kind of a small thing, but she does this a lot when she fights. Whenever she's in danger, she'll kind of do like this backflip handstand thing. A lot of characters do this in anime, but Cinder in particular does it quite a lot, so make that her backdash animation. These are going to go by really quickly because they're just air attacks, but here we go. Air light, air medium, this would kind of be like a string, and then air heavy, which can kind of be like a dive kick, but not really like a dive kick, kind of like a light dive kick. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a dive kick. It just kind of looks like a dive kick. In BB Tag, everybody has an anti-air or a counter move. Generally, they're anti-airs. They're not always anti-airs, but it's what happens when you press the A and the D button. I had a lot of fun picking out the throw animations because Cinder has some cool throws. For her forward throw, she can just easily use her Grim Arm. And for her back throw, she can just spin around the opponent just like she did to Neo in the bar fight. BB Tag has a universal overhead system that ends with a clash. So we've got 2 different parts to this one. This is the universal overhead. And then the final hit of the clash system just needs to be kind of a powerful kick. And she also does that in the same fight. Again, this is a smaller thing, but we have a super jump animation here. Very few characters have like a unique super jump animation, so that one would be kind of cool to see. We're moving on to special moves now, so this is kind of more exciting. And you'll start to see I went for a zoning direction on Cinder, which makes sense if you know her character, right? Her quarter circle forward A is just going to be a basic fireball. You've seen plenty of these in fighting games before. For her quarter circle forward B, I'm just going to turn it into a double fireball. RWBY kind of has something like this, and it's kind of nice to have those characters mirror each other in similar ways. Her quarter circle forward C, which is the meter burn version, can be like a much slower but a stronger version of the move. Maybe give it extra chip damage or have it apply some type of damage over time or something like that. Something to make it more powerful than the other 2 versions we just went over. Her quarter circle back moves are probably the moves I'd be most excited about just because it gives a lot of identity to the character, but she leaves behind kind of a pool of lava and then that lava turns into an explosion. Her quarter circle back B version can kind of just be the same thing but a little bit upgraded. Obviously it would have to be slower to compensate for the fact that it's just objectively better. You can leave behind 3 different explosions. In the video that I'm showing, that I believe there's 5. 3 could easily cover up like half of the screen, which is already pretty powerful for BB Tag, so it'd probably have to be quite a slow move, but her quarter circle back C is the meter burn version, and this actually functions completely differently from the other versions of her quarter circle back. This is going to be like a get off me move, but I've also given it a double function, which is like an anti-projectile, so I'm picturing this to basically hit anywhere on screen, which I think is fine for a game where you can block in the air, but you can also use it as like if you're down on the ground and you see that there's a bunch of projectiles coming your way, you could wake up with something like this. It would say goodbye to all the projectiles on screen and even hit the opponent. Now, obviously the opponent has the chance to block that, so you're probably not actually getting the hit a lot of times, but it's a really nice way to kind of reset the game a little bit. Not necessarily to neutral, because you might want to zone from where you are, but just kind of reset and say, okay, we're both on fair playing fields now. If not, just take a little bit of advantage as well, which I think is fine because it costs you a bar as well. For her air special moves now, we've got a lot of projectiles, so bear with me. Quarter circle forward A, this is going to be a straight air-to-air projectile, so you'll only be able to do this horizontally. You won't be able to aim it down or anything like that. But her air quarter circle forward B will go straight down, kind of like a diagonal angle. And to switch up the flavor a little bit, she can use a bow and arrow here instead of her standard fireball. And for the upgraded version of this move, the quarter circle forward C, I want it to have 2 hits, but I want the second hit to be delayed a little bit and to be like a massive explosion. And then if you land the first hit and they don't block the second hit, I would like to get a hard knockdown. That way you don't get any like crazy combo damage off of it, though you do get to set up after that, which is nice. For her air quarter circle back, I want to give her a pretty standard dive kick. That goes for her A, B, and C version of it. Obviously, they would need to get gradually better throughout the A, B, and C version. Maybe she's not negative on block when she uses the C version, right? Because it costs her a barometer. I really like the idea of using this scene from Volume 7 as her super, or at least her level 1 super, because it kind of mimics what RWBY does for her level 1 super in the game. And I like kind of having those two characters mirrored in some ways throughout their moveset. I think there's a lot of cool like thematic stuff you're doing when you do that. And then for her super level 2, it would have to be some type of cinematic thing, but I would want it to end with that big beam that she does against Ozpin at the end of Volume 3. And of course, for her astral finisher, the reference is just too easy to make. You do the iconic scene from Cinder versus Pyrrha from Volume 3. How do you pass up that opportunity, right? So there you go. That is my Cinder moveset. If you were paying attention, you probably noticed somewhere along the line that she is incredibly zoning oriented. I think it's really difficult to not make Cinder a zoner character. Everything that she does in the series screams zoner. I mean, she does have some close range combat, especially in her fight against Raven, but to be honest, I don't see them using a lot of that fight if they ever do make Cinder a fighting game character, just because that fight is on a completely different scale than what most of RWBY is. So I would like it if they went for a more grounded approach with Cinder's character. And at the end of the day, if you really wanted to have a more cinematic version of that character's moveset where she is much more aggressive, maybe she even uses that big sword that she used against Raven, but I think the best way to do that would be to have 2 different versions of Cinder if you really wanted to go down that route. Obviously now we wouldn't be talking about BB Tag because we'd be lucky if we get any more RWBY characters in BB Tag ever, let alone 2 different versions of Cinder. But again, for the sake of this video, I kind of have to take a fighting game, use that mold, and then build a character from there, rather than building a fighting game moveset without any rules, because then we end up in weird places. Yeah, let me know what you think of my Cinder moveset. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Is there anything that I missed? I mean, I went through every single Cinder fight and every single frame of the Cinder fights, so I'd be shocked if I missed something, but hey, it happens. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you are new around here, I'd very much appreciate it if you would subscribe. These types of videos do take a very long time, so any amount of support would be very much appreciated. My name is BlazBlue, and I'll be sure to catch you in the next video.